This is lesson 3, irrational square roots. Irrational square roots always fall between the square roots of perfect squares that they are between. So the square roots that we're going to look at right now are between 1 and 12. So for example, the square root of 7 falls between what two whole numbers? So the first thing that we do is we put the square root of 7, right here. The next thing that we do is we put it in between the two smaller perfect squares. So it's going to fall between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. So the two integers that it's going to fall between is 2 and 3. So when I look at this, it says, so the square root of 7 falls between 2 and 3. But it is closer to which integer? Well, the number that it falls closest to, is, notice that here it's, if I keep going, the square root of 4, then the square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8, square root of 9. It's closer to 3 than it is to 2. So it is closer to 3. Now, our next question says the square root of 30 falls between what two whole numbers? So I'm going to put the square root of 30 here. So the square root of 30 falls between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. So those two integers is 5 and is 6. In this particular case, then the square root of 30 falls between 5 and 6. So if I look at this now, it is closer to, when I count, it's going to be closer to 5, I believe, than 6. So if I count that 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, there's 5 there. Or 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 6 numbers there. So it's going to be closer to 5 than it is to 6. And how can we tell? If I were to put that in our calculators and I actually were to put in the square root of 30 and actually found out what that number is, and it's actually 5.477225575. If I were to actually round that, it would round down to 5 more than it would to 6. Therefore, it is closer to 5 than it is to 6. So that's how we can actually tell, So that's how I'm looking, All right, so next, we are going to look at a couple other numbers here. So the first one I'm going to look at, it says in your calculator, what is the square root of 89? Well, if I put that in here, and I put the square root of 89, the square root of 89 is 9.43381132. So now when I look here, this number here is what I'm looking at, because if I'm rounding this, if I'm rounding this, and I'm going to actually erase that one piece there. And if I'm looking at this, and I'm checking to see which number it's closer to, if I happen to round this, I'm looking at this 9, and I'm going over here to the 4. If that 4 is 5 or higher, of course I'm going to round up. And actually, if it's at 5 or higher, that's the number it's closer to into the next number. This actually is 4 or lower, so it's actually closer to 9. So then the square root of 89 is going to be closer to to 9. Okay? The square root of 10, if I take that square root of 10, that square root of 10 is 3.162277666, and so on. This one's and so on too, sorry. Okay, and so on. So here, again, this one is even closer to 3 than it is to 4. So our square root of 10 here is closer to 3. Okay. That ends our lesson.